How are you?
Good, thanks, Josh. Thrilled to be here.
I can't tell you how excited I am. Like, I woke up this morning and I have like this surge of adrenaline. I don't know why. I think it's just going into an episode of the complete unknown. And I think a lot of people probably are wondering right now why I'm sat in a tuxedo surrounded by wine glasses when this, in theory, is meant to be a running podcast.
So, Josh, it's the same for me. I wake up this morning and think, I'm going on a running podcast.
It's crazy. But I mean, you know, a lot of people will be wondering, you know, what was the logic, I guess, behind this particular episode? And for a lot of people that don't know, to give some context, Tom blew up essentially because of the London Marathon, you know, and I want you to kind of share the reasons for that. But I think it just captivated the nation, including myself, when I came across it. And, you know, the one thing about running is it's such an inclusive sport. And I just love the fact that people are breaking boundaries and just coming at it from a completely unique angle. And yours was exceptional.
It was, and I wasn't expecting it to be. It was just the craziest thing. It wasn't the craziest thing to do because in some of you might know, in the Médoc in France, they have a drinking marathon. So it's something that happens every September, the Médoc de Marathon, and the French get hosed while running a marathon. So I thought it's not that mad, but it was completely mad.
So basically, I think it was a total of, you were essentially blind taste testing. Was it 19 bottles?
No. It was 26.
You did 26 in total?
No, I only got to 25 because Fred, I'll tell you about this as you asked, but he buggered off on mile 25 and said, I'm bored, I'm going home. So I didn't get the 26.
Right, that was it. Amazing. And what was the rationale, just essentially because of the organised race in France? You just felt like this was an opportunity to try something in London?
Not at all. No, the rationale was I was running for a charity called Sobell House. So it's a hospice in Oxfordshire that looked after my mum in her last few days. And they'd got me a place, and the minimum I had to raise was £2,000. And I got to £2,000. And Fred, who's my son and who does all the silly filming, said, you know, Dad, you're 52 years old. You're probably not going to win this race. So should we do something a bit silly and try and raise some proper money? And I went, yeah, go on, what should we do? And he said, well, let's do wine tasting. I said, you're nuts. But actually, you're not that nuts because it has been done. So he organised it all. And yeah.
What impresses me actually about that is the logistics that go into it. Like, say for my team, I did the London Marathon this year. I know how hard it is for my team to get from A to B. Having to get from point to point, and I imagine with that many, how many team members were there to carry that many bottles of wine?
So we had 7 couples, and you're absolutely right. The logistics of it, because it's 4 deep everywhere along. I mean, even the Isle of Dogs is nearly 4 deep. So he got everybody in wine wanker t-shirts with wine wanker flags, you know, on big poles that you could that I could look out for. So I say all I had to do, but I had to just hit the flags. And he'd organised his mates, a couple of my mates, everyone go and buy their own wine, or he sent them something that I didn't know what it was. And he said, right, you're going to be at that point, at that point, at that point. And I was most worried about missing the flags. And I did miss a couple, which meant that I'd sometimes have 3 miles without a drink and then 1 mile with 3 drinks. But it was, the logistics of it were incredible, really good.
And the thing is, you weren't even spitting the wine out, you were actually drinking it.
Well, I spat the first couple out, and then I thought, these are quite good, actually. And someone sent me about a week beforehand, there was a guy called James Ellis who ran, I don't know whether it was Olympics in 1944, something like that, but about 3 people actually sent me this article about a guy who won an amazing running race drinking red wine. So beforehand, I thought, this is going to be all right.
How I don't even understand, how do you even cope with something like that? Because even if you're just taking sips, like when you accumulate that over a period of time, it is going to have a knock-on effect. Did you feel tipsy at all?
I don't think I did. But I was so Josh, I was running alongside Blackpool Tower, a guy with a fridge on his back, and a double-humped camel. And I thought, you guys are absolutely nuts. By mile 7, and I'd overtake them, then they'd overtake me. They all stopped and looked at me and went, you're nuts. And I went, I think I'm actually the least nuts of the 4 of us.
Was it a fridge on the back or a washing machine?
No, it's a fridge. It's a
I
fridge.
find
I don't know whether it had beers in it, but it was a fridge.
Well, I was about to say, maybe you guys should have merged together with some of the choices, stuck a couple of bottles in that. I just thought it was fantastic. And I just think that's the way I think you're going to get people invested in different things. Just unique and exciting ideas.
But Josh, it was, the real thing about it is that I think is incredible is I had 2,000 quid sponsorship going into the marathon. And very quickly, we're now up to 32 grand.
Wow.
For a little hospice, I say a little hospice, there's local hospices everywhere. And the week after, I was on every single blinking show that I've heard of, wearing the Sobell House Hospice wine wanker top. And it was just, for all of us on the journey, it was just so funny and so great.
Do you think, having done the London Marathon and seen the impact that it's had, has that maybe inspired some more unique ideas of how you can continue to raise those funds?
People have come to me and gone, gosh, will you run the Medoc Marathon? Or there's a vineyard down in Dorking, Denbies, have a marathon. But I sort of think that's done. And I've been asking really what it's all about, asking myself what it's all about. And I think it's just bringing wine into a place that it's not normally there, because wine is totally my game, and having some fun with it. So if somebody came up with, this is an invitation, anyone who's got a barking idea, I'm game.
You make wine approachable. I don't know if that's the right term. Like, for somebody like myself who's a complete novice, I know nothing about wine. And I think it's like anything. When you find yourself in an environment that you're not familiar with, it's quite nervous territory.
Yeah.
And not everyone is always as fun and as necessarily like warm and welcoming as you are. And I guess my perception of maybe certain environments within wine is it's a bit wanky.
Totally.
And so for somebody like me, that's not the funnest experience to be a part of. And actually, I've never really learnt a great deal about wine, and it's something that I would love to, but I think it has to be with the right person. And I probably just haven't felt like my clique, I guess.
Josh, I totally get it. It is the scariest. I think it's really an intimidating product to get into, and it just shouldn't be. I mean, that's why I call myself the wine wanker. It's just, in fact, Freddie, it's my birthday in March, and Freddie buys me he works with me and he bought me a wine wanker stamp. So I can stamp everything I write on with a picture of my hairdo and wine wanker written underneath it. It's just...
Do people shout that out to you, though, in the streets?
Yeah.
Wow.
Come on. But all along the marathon, there were people going, come on, wine wanker.
That's amazing.
It was just so funny.
Who came up with the name?
Wine wanker.
Yeah. Was it yourself? Or
No,
was it your
Freddie
son?
did.
Freddie. Why is Freddie? Freddie, I feel like Freddie's the mastermind behind this.
He just quietly he just puts me into situations that get us on here, get me in front of you.
And is he balancing things right now? I mean, is he looking to do this full time with you, or is this something that he just kind of does as like a side venture?
No, none of us. So the wine business is traditionally, our wine business is traditional sort of pink trouser brigade wine business. It's buy wine, import wine, sell it to hotels, caterers, do wine events. And it's only since January that we've actually started having fun with it.
Yeah.
And my whole life, I mean, I think this, echoes what you say. My whole life, Josh, has been sort of taking things a little bit more seriously than I do now. But I've figured since January, and that is like when the sort of ice bath happened, life is much more fun if you just aim to have a bit of fun. Okay, so last week I get invited to the launch of this chap's wine glass. A guy called Richard Brendan makes beautiful crockery wine glasses. Anyway, he's designed a wine glass with the complete matriarch of our whole industry, Jancis Robinson. And I've never met Jancis Robinson before, despite, having been in the wine trade all my life. And I'm thinking, shit, she's gonna take me aside, stand me in the corner and ask me what the hell I think I'm up to. But she said, I went up and said, and I told her this is what I'm expecting her to say to me. And she said, no, it's just amazing. It's so fantastic. And we are somehow getting a following of people who seem to really appreciate a bit of a laugh with wine. And it's not, the marathon I did in 4:41. I wasn't trying to take the piss out of the London Marathon. It's just I literally just did it to raise a bit more money.
Do you know what I think is going to be fun about today? So you've given me the responsibility of bringing an assortment of wines.
Oh my goodness.
Now, it's highly unlikely any of them will probably taste any good, but some of them actually are personal to me. That doesn't mean that they're going to taste good.
Okay.
But it's maybe about you sampling something that you've never tried before.
Okay.
And just throughout, we'll just see how we go with it. So, I mean, for the first wine, you have a choice. We could either do a blind taste test, or I can just present it to you and we can try it together.
Should we do one, whatever you want, Josh? You bowl.
Should we start?
So
with...
on the marathon, I had to guess or try and guess the estate, the vintage, and the the country, the vintage, and the grape. So I had to try and get 3 things right.
Well, shall I? Do you know what? For the first one, then I think we'll go with a wine that was presented to me many years ago.
Yeah,
when I was playing rugby. So I think we're gonna blindfold you for this. Are you happy with that?
Literally, yeah, specs off.
So when I went online to find an appropriate blindfold, I was thinking, what would Tom wear? So of all the options, I felt like this was just really fitting to you if you're happy to wear it.
That's a perfect blindfold. Yeah, definitely. I think you'd look good in that as well. Right. Okay.
Now, the funny thing is,
I've got to be able to find the wine glass. So you've got to, because otherwise I'm going to make an awful mess.
What I did pre-recording, I was actually talking to Tom because I've got 2 choices of glass here. One's the bigger one, one's the smaller. And I was just saying to him, I don't even know what the appropriate glass for the wine is. I thought, did I say the smaller glass was for?
Yeah, you said big glass for white, small glass for red, which is very nearly right, except it's the other way around.
The thing is, the wine I'm about to present to you, I don't even know what glass it's fitting to be in. We'll roll with it. So our first bottle.
Oh, am I allowed to take the blindfold off once you've poured it? I am really on top.
I'd quite like you to taste it first.
Okay.
Before you see it, because I feel like by seeing it, and how much would you like me to pour? Just like a small...
A proper sip.
Oh, you're right, okay. Right, we'll go. I think that's an appropriate amount.
Patch on.
So this wine, I would say, has sentiment more than anything.
Oh, right. I can't see it at all. I'm slightly wary about swilling it near my white shirt. So I don't even know if it's red or white at the moment.
I think this is the first time in history this has ever been done for this particular wine. It's a real compliment.
Mm.
No?
That is one of the most disgusting things I've ever put in my mouth. Right. It's incredibly sweet. And, right, it's incredibly sweet, and it is...
I'm just loving how invested you are in this. It's fantastic.
It's fortified.
It has a cult following, by the way, so you are probably going to have a whole new fan base.
I love it. So should I like it? It's fucking rank.
No, it's awful.
It's okay. It's fortified. It's like a sherry, but not like a sherry. It's like a Harvey's Bristol cream. Okay, can I take these off?
I mean, even on the bottle it says here, not recommended for children or pregnant or breastfeeding women.
Or marathon runners.
Yeah, or just people, I think,
If I'd have got this on the marathon, I'd have stopped.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to take my blindfold off?
Yeah, you can. So, have you ever heard of this?
It's Buckfast! So good. So good.
When I moved over...
Of course I've heard of it.
When I moved over to Northern Ireland...
God.
All of my
Where did you
friends,
get it? You can't get this.
Where did I buy? I had to buy it online. Yeah, I had to buy that one online. So
it's a Buckfast tonic wine.
Yeah, so
my God.
When I was in Northern Ireland, all the guys used to pre-rinse that drink. I mean, before we'd go out, they would drink a bottle of that, and I just could not get into the trend of it.
Made by the Benedictine monks in Devon, in England.
But it originated from France.
Yes, I know.
Now, it's predominantly sold in Northern Ireland and Scotland. You will find that on most shelves.
See, this could probably be good for running. It's high caffeine content.
I mean, I don't think I could.
No, I don't think I could either. Okay, can I just sort of try and gauge where we're going with this podcast? Because have I got more things like this to taste? Or is it going to get better?
Well, it depends how you define better, to be honest with you. To someone, that's great. What I should have asked you, actually, is what vintage you think that was. That would have been hilarious.
Right, okay, so that's 0 out of 0 so far.
So most people there, I think when they're in a restaurant, they'll find themselves probably in a similar position where I'm at, where the lovely waiter or waitress will hand you the bottle and say, would you like to try it? And I haven't got a bloody clue what I'm doing. And I just do that. And I know that's about legs.
So if you get a waiter who comes to you, or a sommelier, and pours you the wine and asks you to try it, I think it's a little bit like the car mechanic who's just serviced your car and asked you to look at the bonnet and check that it's okay.
Right.
And we'd all go, that's your job.
Yeah. So what, should I ask him to try it for me?
No. So my theory is they must be trying, and they do sometimes try it beforehand, to check that there's nothing wrong with the wine.
Right.
And then pour you the glass to decide whether you like it. So basically, we should be more like the French. And if we don't like the wine, send it straight back. And we would never do that. We'd all be way too worried.
Right. But what you just did there, though, you were kind of looking at it. So first off, should I smell it?
Yeah, so to taste wine, I mean...
You were going to ask me to do that with Buckfast.
I cannot believe you just poured me Buckfast. To taste wine, you've got to look at it first. And listeners, I'm holding up this glass of Buckfast, and I look through it just to see what the intensity of the colour is, because that would give me an idea of the grape variety.
Right.
But here I would still be very lost.
But when you say the grape variety, what is it? Say if it was hypothetically like a rosé. What is it that I'm looking for with the variety?
So a rosé, you just look for a nice pale rosé, and you can't tell much with rosé. But with red, pale red is maybe a Pinot Noir or a Gamay or something. Rich red is a Shiraz. Buckfast, always this colour.
Looks like flat Coca-Cola, basically.
So basically, look at it, smell it, and then taste it. So the first fault you'll find in a wine is when you look at it. So if it's hazy or something that you thought could be wrong, then you have a smell. And if you smell a lot, what you're basically smelling for is whether the wine is corked, whether it's had a reaction with the cork. It's all funky bacteria that basically is like putting a wet blanket over the fruit.
Right.
And because it's my job, I would be fairly good at picking out a corked wine. But I'm just imagining that your job is not drinking wine all day, and you're like 99.9% of the world who would just think it's a shit wine.
I think, for me, it probably just would be, I'm going to taste this and I'm either going to like it or I'm not. Yeah,
you see, this Buckfast, there is no fault in this wine. It's just shit.
Could you classify that as a wine?
Yes, it's a tonic wine. Oh my God.
Honestly, I really hope the sales...
I don't think I've drunk this since I was 14.
Drive up and you land yourself a campaign of it. That would be my ultimate dream. So the second one...
Oh my goodness.
I have family in Santa Barbara, and I remember going to like a local shop, and it's a little bit narcissistic, but I came across a wine with my name. So
I bought the winery.
It comes in quite a variety of colours and flavours. But I do remember, so when we spoke for the first time, you did say you like a Pinot Noir.
Yeah, so Josh, I want you to open that. Are you going to open it?
Yeah,
or not?
Well, yeah, I am, but I'm a little bit nervous in front of you. I'm going to hit
because that's a proper wine.
Right.
That's a shit corkscrew, but it's a proper
wine. Have you got a nice...
I've got a bit of corkscrew. It's literally just something with a worm and an arm like that, and it works jolly well. So I open the wine just under the lip of the bottle, because then it will look smart.
See, I wouldn't have done that.
No,
I would have shamed you there, and I would have been the guy who scratches
but you see,
the
Josh,
top and then like peels it.
Yeah, but I'd probably go and buy a shite pair of running shoes. So, we all have our...
Yeah.
So that looks nice and smart. And then in goes the little worm of the corkscrew. And then you never put it between your legs and rip it out, because you'll end up wearing most of the wine.
Got you.
So that just comes out. That is 32 years of training.
Wow.
It's good, that, isn't it?
It was special. I mean, I did just learn something there, to be honest with you. And anybody that watches this on YouTube will equally be able to learn something from that. That's amazing. Now,
shall I pour you a glass?
Yes, please.
This week's episode is sponsored by Runner. Runner is a personalized running coaching app helping runners of all abilities train for any goal. From a first 5K to a marathon, even an ultra marathon. When the time is right for you, your plan can be created within a minute and ready to go. With each plan, Runner provides all the help a runner requires, including strength and conditioning, and you can also reach out to the team at any time via the support tab inside the app. For a 2-week free trial on any personalized running plan, use the code PHOENIX. No matter your goal, Runner is there to help you achieve it.
So when I say light in colour, this grape variety is light in colour.
Can we just make it... You said when I offered you the wine to pour a sip. Is that
That's a sip, yeah.
Okay.
In fairness, they're quite big wine glasses.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a sip.
Tom's idea of a sip, by the way, is a pint.
Cheers.
Cheers. So
the way to taste it is you
I can smell it.
Yeah, you look at it, but ideally over something white. But you can look at it over your hand, and just you see it's really pale, light in colour. So that immediately tells you it's not a Shiraz, not a Syrah, not a Cabernet. And then red wine is basically two things. It's either red fruit aromas or black fruit aromas. Smell that. So red fruit,
I like the smell of it.
So red fruit, I'm thinking strawberries, red cherries, red plums, red currants, that kind of vibe. Or is it blackberries, black plums, blueberries? Josh, you got a 50-50 chance.
Do you know, I'm gonna be really honest with you. This reminds me of a time where I was trying to impress my girlfriend at the time's mum, who was really big into crystals, and she took me to essentially a shed in a car park, and there was about 500 crystals to choose from. I went up to the guy at the desk and said, "Just do me a favour here, I'm trying to impress someone.
Yeah.
Just tell me which one to pick."
Yeah.
He was like, "Sir, it doesn't go by that, it goes by the energy." And I remember literally just picking a pebble up, pretending that I'd connected with it.
I've connected.
Right now, I'm smelling...
So I think you're smelling strawberries, raspberries, red fruit. If it's either black fruit or red fruit, I think you're getting red fruit.
No,
yeah?
I think you're right.
Yeah, okay.
I'm smelling that.
This is going so well. And then when you taste it, red wine has this thing called tannin, because to make a red wine, you've got to ferment the whole grape, and you get, when you leave a cup of tea on the side with no milk in it, and you drink it after tea bag's too long, it sucks all the sort of saliva out of your mouth and makes you roll your tongue around. That's tannin. You get it in red wine, but you get less of it in Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is sort of the lightest, smoothest.
Amazing.
Cheers. Let's have
Cheers.
a go. So that, I think, you put it all around your mouth, because you feel this... No, don't gargle. So you do it like this. So,
Tom, I'm going to be honest with you, that tastes like lighter fuel. My tongue's firing right now. Wow, that's punchy.
Yeah, but Josh, you haven't had the Buckfast.
Wow.
I think that's super smooth. I think I like this wine.
Can we see if anyone's got a lighter and see how flammable this thing is? That's quite strong.
Josh Sellers, 22, from California, 13.5%.
Can you just show me, when you did the swirly in your mouth thing, I feel like I kind of didn't do it particularly well. Can you when you just did like a...
Yeah, do you want me to just do it?
Can you just show me?
Okay, so it goes... Smell.
Oh, wow, you really do get in there.
So I reckon I would have got that on the marathon, because it's definitely a Pinot Noir, and it's quite ripe, as in it's jammy and juicy. Therefore, it's a warm country, and I know California does that well.
So what's your thoughts on this?
I like it.
Do you?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Wow.
But I mean, this is perfect wine tasting time. It's 10:15 and 11 in the morning. This is
when
when your palate is sharpest.
It's so early for wine right now.
Yeah, you might go for a run at this time. Wow. I get into wine at this time.
Do you know what, though? If we were in an airport right now, 5 a.m. is acceptable.
Yes,
so,
it is.
And there are planes going over one a minute, so it's essentially the same thing. So what would you mark that out of 10?
If it costs about 15 quid, I'd give it a 7.
Wow. Oh, my gosh.
6 or a 7.
Wow.
But I mean, Buckfast is on the scale as well.
Yeah. Should we go for the next one?
Yeah, I'd love that.
But with the modern times, there is a huge
Absolutely.
growing investment now in the non-alcoholic option. So I have brought 2 options.
Nice. I drink a lot of non-alcoholic beer, by the way.
So
Nice. That looks really delicious.
I'm going to be really honest with you. This was about £3.50. I should have told you that.
But you know why it's cheaper? Because you've got duty to pay on alcoholic wine, which is £2.64 or something like that. I'll be wrong by a few digits. But that's tax straight to the government that is not on that delicious bottle you're holding in your hand.
I love the fact you think it's delicious.
I'm hoping it's delicious.
This is a McGuigan Zero. It's a Sauvignon Blanc. I don't know much about it because I actually purchased it today. But would you like to pour it or shall I?
You pour it, Josh, because you've got it.
What I'd like to know, though, is what is your opinion on wines with... Because, I mean, the Josh wine there, you gave a very healthy score to, right? 7 out of 10. That was a cork. Buckfast, screw top.
Yeah.
This white wine, screw top. Do you stay away from wines with screw tops?
No way. So you can buy... it's very difficult to buy a wine out of New Zealand now without a screw top because they... Basically, if a winemaker wants you to taste the wine that they have actually made in the way that they know it's going to be right, then they'll often bottle it with a screw top. I didn't have a non-alcoholic wine on my marathon.
That's
they were all ladies.
I'm checking the hand.
Yeah, so it's light. So this, for a white wine, if it's translucent like this, it's not hazy, it's clear, that's generally good. Have a little smell.
Oh my God.
And it smells of like...
Shit?
Well, sort of grape juice with a little bit of shit in it.
That is absolutely hanging.
And it's...
That smells... There's no scent.
Taste it. It's absolute filth.
That is the worst smell.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, McGuigan Zero. But
so we've made 2 enemies so far. We've done McGuigan and Buckfast.
Could you... What? I'm struggling to... What would you say you can smell there?
So
is it feet?
Yes, cheese and feet.
It's not even
cheese,
fruity.
Feet, shit and grapes.
Right, here we go.
Yeah.
Are we doing the taste test?
Yeah, no, I've gone there.
You have?
I'm there.
Weirdly, I don't know why, but it's
horrid.
It's like a kick in the mouth, but also a pleasure. And I don't know if it's the fruity.
Josh, I think that's
the problem is when you take the first sip, I'm tasting the smell, but then the aftertaste is quite sweet. It's like a kombucha.
It is a bit like it, except much worse.
This is God. It's just the smell of it is absolutely. So the smell is 10 out of 10, horrendous.
Okay, so you've bought an average. I mean, that non-alcoholic wine is just not good. And part of the thing...
Oh, God.
Part of the thing about why... So, for a beer... for a beer, you've just got to lose, basically, 4 or 5%.
Wow.
And, therefore, the alcohol content of a beer is a significantly... it's much less of the actual taste. Whereas for a wine, you're 14, 13%. So, you've got to take much more of the alcohol out. And it leaves just cheese and feet. I like cheese and feet with a bit of alcohol.
Could just so the listener can actually get what is that smell?
Okay, we'll do this properly.
Is it meat?
It's sort of a bit meaty. It's a bit cheesy. It's very umami, that kind of thing. And then when you taste it, it's incredibly sweet. It's got sweetness and acidity, but nothing underneath it. And a wine should have either or sweetness or acidity with body underneath it. It's got no body.
No.
So that's just definitely not going to get you through another mile.
Or a soul. I think it's
got no soul.
It left it a long time ago. Wowzers. Out of 10.
So if That's with Buckfast. Buckfast's got character. I'm going to give it a 1. That I'm going to give a 0.5, which is probably the percentage alcohol it's got in it.
I'll give it a 1.
Okay, good.
I'll give it a 1 just because I quite like the weird sweet taste afterwards.
You haven't. So you've done both wines, but you have not done Buckfast. So just so everyone's in tune, Josh has not yet done Buckfast.
So I can you dismiss or confirm a rumour that I've heard? Restaurants tactically position their wine. Well, when most customers go, they never want to be seen as the cheapskate.
Yeah.
And so they never want to be seen buying the cheapest bottle.
Yeah.
So actually, is it true that restaurants switch the bottles?
No. It is true that...
And I don't mean the most expensive to be the cheapest, but as in like that starting bracket, is there a tactical move?
Yeah, there's a definite tactical move. So if you run a restaurant without a sommelier, so you're not white tablecloth, but you're a good restaurant, there are probably 5 wines that will make you 80% of your money. Your house wines, so starting from the beginning, your Prosecco, your Rosé, your like Provence Rosé, that's 2 of them. And then on the whites, it's literally your house wine and your New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. So even though your New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc you could sell with the same margin at maybe 35 quid, you'll sell it at 50 quid and make it good. And you'll put a load of stuff that you or maybe I might not know what they are. They're good wines between the house wine and the New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. So basically, if you and I walk into a restaurant and don't know anything about wine, we will pay 48 quid for a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc and we'll be happy, but we will have been shafted.
Wow.
So happily shafted. Whereas if, let's say, me with my wine geek hat on, spot a Vino Verde at 38 quid and go for that, then I'll be one of the few that gets some value on that wine list, or you will be, or I will be. And on reds, it is the house red and the Malbec, the Argentinian Malbec.
You just must feel like you're being robbed the entire time you do that.
No, I love it. I go there and I go, you are a clever restaurateur because you've got, as long as those wines are good, because a silly restaurateur will put shit wines up there, examples of those, and make them expensive. But if they're good and they're expensive, then everyone's going to be happy. And even though we've been shafted, we're happy.
You know, is there safe options that you can go for that generally the table you believe would enjoy?
Yeah, because I'm the same. Everyone chucks me the wine list and said, "What should we drink?" And I go, "Well, you know, what are we paying? What?" And that's the thing, that who's happy to pay what, and it hasn't been discussed beforehand or whatever. So for a white wine, I would, you know, if it's an inexpensive evening, I would go for a Picpoul de Pinet or a Vigne Verde that would be really nice. Everyone's going to love it. Crisp, fresh, nice. And then for a red, I'd go a Portuguese red from Douro or Dow would be really good. Yeah, I'd probably avoid. I'd stay in Europe.
Are there countries specifically that you would avoid? Australia?
Yeah, I would sort of, unless I'm spending proper money, I'd avoid Australia.
Just Australia.
And I'd probably avoid New Zealand for whites.
Interesting.
But here's the thing. So if you go to a white tablecloth restaurant with a sommelier who's looking over your shoulder and making you shit your pants, the best way to get a bit of control is just ask that sommelier, how much do I have to spend in here to get a nice bottle of wine? And if they come back to you and go 200 quid, then it makes them look like a twat.
Mm. I think that's the problem sometimes, isn't it, now with sort of like, you know, the waiters or waitresses within restaurants, is that, you know, understandably so, they're just trying to make as much money from you in that moment. But actually, that relationship or that's built on trust, you know that I'm going to spend some money, but just respect me and understand that I don't want to spend hundreds of pounds on this meal, but I still want to enjoy it. And I think that's the shame.
I think more of them are, many more restaurants are much, much better. Much better. So I would always ask a sommelier, but I would actually ask them that question of how much do I have to spend to get a nice bottle of wine.
Mm. And with wine, do you have a preference of how you pour it? Like, you know, with certain bottoms, I mean, I've seen people put their thumbs in it and sort of...
So someone sent me a message yesterday saying, can I tell how good the wine is by how far I can shove my finger up its arse. I went, ... I mean the punt. So the punt is the bottom of the bottle.
And is that a thing?
Yeah. And generally, a deep punt is a more expensive bottle and probably a more expensive wine. So I've got the Josh wine here.
Yeah.
And I am sort of half my thumb up its bum.
I'm a quarter of a nail
haven't-
with the
you
McGuigan
haven't done
Zero.
it anyway.
What about the Buckfast?
Should we do the Buckfast?
The tip of a nail?
No, no.
Nothing. Relatively
nothing.
flat.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's so. But even that, I would never have taken that into consideration. I think with people's lifestyles right now, you know, alcohol is so prominent within it, and it's not a case. I'm not against it. I think it's amazing that there's a real trend right now about quitting alcohol, and alcohol is very much being villainized, and sometimes for just reasons. But again, I think it's about how we articulate that message, so it's not one or the other. There needs to be that middle ground. There's an awful lot of people out there that alcohol is incredibly prominent within their lifestyle. You know, if you look at a lot of trades within the city, for instance, a lot of business lunches or clients, whatever it might be. For somebody like yourself, like, how do you find the balance of that? Do you have to set aside time, I guess, throughout certain days of the week or the weeks in general where you can exercise? I mean, you know, I think a lot of people probably could learn a lot from that.
Definitely, I do. Do you mind if I answer your first bit of a question that wasn't even a question?
Yeah.
So my main game is running corporate wine events for exactly the people you're talking about. You know, corporates who want to entertain their clients, and we run a big old wine tasting, and it's great fun. But there are a lot of people who either don't drink or don't want to drink, and we have this stigma in this country of you're expected to drink, and we all feel a little bit awkward. I'm sort of thinking we all feel a bit awkward, because I do, when you walk into somewhere and there's a tray of beers or a tray of wines or whatever, and we ask for an orange juice or we ask for something. And what I've found in the last, certainly since, but also a bit pre-COVID, now, where we run these events is, or 10 years ago, it would be, would you like a glass of champagne? And now it's, would you like a glass of fizz? We've got a champagne or a non-alcoholic option. So they don't even need to ask. So we make it easy for them, because then you're offered a non-alcoholic. And we are now doing probably 30, 40% non-alcoholic, not because our champagne's so shit, but 40% non-alcoholic on arrival at these events, and offering non-alcoholic wine through these events. And what we're seeing is people are drinking the alcoholic wines during the event so they can take part and enjoy it, but they're not just filling themselves up with fizz. We're drinking less, but more thoughtfully.
And with wine, do you have a preference of how you pour it? Like, you know, with certain bottoms, I mean, I've seen people put their thumbs in it and sort of...
So someone sent me a message yesterday saying, can I tell how good the wine is by how far I can shove my finger up its arse? I went, ... I mean the punt. So the punt is the bottom of the bottle.
And is that a thing?
Yeah. And generally, a deep punt is a more expensive bottle and probably a more expensive wine. So I've got the Josh wine here.
Yeah.
And I am sort of half my thumb up its bum.
I'm a quarter of a nail with the
you
McGuigan
haven't done
Zero.
it anyway.
What about the Buckfast?
Should we do the Buckfast?
The tip of a nail?
No.
Nothing. Relatively flat.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. That's so. But even that, I would never have taken that into consideration. So I'm going to bring us on to our next wine.
Okay, great.
I think what we'll do is we're going to go with our next non-alcoholic, which will be a red, and then we're going to end it with another blindfold taste test.
I'm excited about this non-alcoholic red.
Yeah. So here we have, well, how would you even pronounce that?
Red blend. I pronounce it red blend.
But this, would you just call it FRE or Fre?
What country is it from?
California.
Fry?
Fry.
That's Australian, I think.
Yeah, that was Australian. This is interesting. Yeah, so it's from a California vineyard. True happiness lies in the freedom to be yourself.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, do you know what? It might taste shit, but I love that. So already we have another screw top, which is interesting.
Just coming back to the marathon, I reckon it actually helped me do the marathon. And I don't know, and I'm not taking the piss. I think that the sort of taking my mind off it and having to worry about something else could have been a big influence, but I don't think I'd have run that any quicker if I hadn't drunk. And I probably stopped for the best part of 40 minutes. So I was probably a 4-hour marathon person, which I don't think I'd have done no matter what training I wouldn't be quicker than that.
Yeah, I actually love that you say that, because I think each individual has got to approach, let's talk about running specifically in this instance with the marathon, in their own way. And I think it's actually great that you have voiced that, because I think a lot of people will try and replicate the same approach or model that, you know, their friend might be doing, but you have to tailor it to yourself. And I think, I say this 1,000 times, the most important thing is that when you cross that finish line, the only feeling you should have is fulfillment.
Yeah.
And just pure joy.
Yeah.
Rather than just that momentary validation from a complete stranger or people that you know. Because for them, it might fulfill them with the time that you achieved. But actually, if you come away with it without memories, I think that's a real shame. And actually, if you look at what you did there, not only have you brought joy to yourself, but just so many people around you. And I keep saying this, but I just think the way that you documented it was just so lighthearted. I don't think anybody could question you, Tom, and think that you are a big advocate for pushing, you know, exercising and drinking alcohol. You've lost the message.
Good.
I think if that's the case, I think it's, you know, for you, it was just the most appropriate way to do it. And actually being tactical with those stops is going to be really key. And I do that with some of the runners that I run with, where, you know, I can see maybe where they're currently at with their ability. And so I tactically will stop.
Yeah.
And it's about me rather than them, which takes the pressure off them thinking that we're stopping because of them.
Yeah.
You know, it's a process. We'll get to that point eventually, but let's just figure out what works for you and what doesn't.
Totally.
And so far, I can honestly say, if you were to hand me these during the London Marathon, apart from Josh, they certainly wouldn't. So,
right.
Here we go. So we're going to smell.
So it's quite light.
The red blend.
Yeah. We smell the red blend.
Frey in Australian, which is actually American.
And I mean, that to me is just Ribena.
Right. So smell, scent is actually not bad. It's not as bad as the white.
Well, Ribena's not bad, is it? I smell Ribena every day.
You can smell berries, can't you?
Hmm.
There's a combination of just pure joy seeing someone with Tom's background tasting these wines, but just embarrassment that I'm putting him through this. This is the moment where Tom's gone, what the fuck have I done with my life? How have I come to this?
I mean, Josh, you're going to comment first on that.
It doesn't taste that dissimilar to the white, I'll be honest with you, but just without the really rank feet smell.
And less acidity. But why would you drink that?
I don't think you would. I just can't see anyone.
Why would you drink that?
No wine drinker. The issue I have with these, right? No wine drinker who wants to drink a non-alcoholic option, who loves their wine, is going to drink either of those and go, that's a great replacement. I feel utterly fulfilled having this throughout the night. If you can't make it remotely to the standard of what you were used to, don't do it.
I completely agree. I smash in non-alcoholic Guinnesses.
Amazing.
They're because they sort of taste a little bit like Guinness, and I don't really like drinking water, but I would never drink those. I mean, what's the point?
No, I know what you mean. It's like
I don't even care if they're trying to pretend to be a wine. They're just not nice drinks. I'd rather drink Ribena.
I could have a glass of this.
Yeah, but why?
Because unfortunately, some of the social groups I find myself in, Tom, aren't the most sophisticated, and this is probably the only thing on offer. You know, their idea of a canapé is a pack of munchies.
It could do worse.
Yeah, I'm going to give that a...
I'm going to give it more than the Sauvignon Blanc.
That's a 2 out of 10 for me.
2 out of 10. I'm not rating it higher than Buckfast. That's a 1.
So that's 1. Wow. 1 and a 2.
Buckfast, at least, if you poured that at a drink, if you poured Buckfast at a drinks reception, you get a huge reaction. Whereas here, I think you'd get less. You'd get like a, what's he doing, rather than what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah. Well, I don't think I'm going to incorporate any of these at dinner parties anytime soon, then,
No,
to be honest. And you did, to be fair, when we spoke about this, you were saying that just in terms of non-alcoholic beer, they are matched, which I agree.
Yeah.
Corona, fantastic. Guinness, fantastic. Heineken's amazing. I just think they are. Even Record Leg cider was amazing. I mean, that's
Do they
basically
do a
just
non-alcoholic?
They do, and
Do
it's.
they?
I mean, it is essentially just a fizzy drink, but
Yeah.
it is delicious. Whereas the wine, it's the first time I've ever tried this, is way off the mark.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think I'm going to go for that.
I'm sticking with Josh.
What I would love to know, Tom, with yourself is you kind of touched on it at the start where, you know, for you, I guess just the logic behind what you do has to make sense. And, you know, when I kind of alluded to like what's the potential next running event you're going to be doing, for you, I guess it's got to have the right why behind it. What does the future have in store? Is this an opportunity, I guess, for you to make wine more entertaining, which obviously naturally will help business? Or is it just rolling with it and just see where it takes you?
I think it's having fun with wine. So, and stuff that interests me. So when I said, I think the wine helped my marathon, I think it was the stops that helped run my marathon. I would actually quite like to see whether the wine helped I would actually quite like to run properly and have a little bit of wine and see what it does. Because, you know, you look at the Tour de France, they were smashing it in all day, every day, cycling 250 kilometers a day back in the days. And you just think, you know, that's...
Imagine if you genuinely got a collaboration where they were bringing out like a Shiraz energy gel.
That would be so good.
This is the world, honestly.
That would be
God.
so good.
Are you excited for the future? Because I think when you talk about your journey of, you know, sometimes taking life a little bit too serious and then all it takes is a single idea like the marathon and you look at how life can change so quickly and the opportunities that come with it. What lesson has that kind of taught you?
I don't know whether there's a specific lesson, but my mindset has completely changed from where it was last year. Because you're right, the stuff, doing the marathon and things like that has done no harm to the business at all. But it has actually opened up an audience for me that I would never normally get to communicate with. And I was outside a baker the other day, and this young lad who must have been about so it's a bakery coffee shop, must have been about 24, and he was a bit of a geek, and he ran up to me and said, I just want to say, I've got my first girlfriend, and I shit my pants every time I either look at a wine rack list, whatever, and I just look at your TikTok, and I know that I'm going to be okay. And I went, that is worth everything that that anyone could pay me or do. And it's just, I think somehow or other, and it is completely by mistake, we're bringing wine to a place, the actual category of wine, to an audience that, as you referred to earlier, just didn't think that it was for them.
And also, I think, you know, this is from a personal point, you know, I have a 7-year-old daughter, and, you know, as you get a little bit older, I think you do start to become more mindful of other people and sort of, you know, when I take her to school and collection and, you know, I think it's probably the pressure you put onto yourself of I must behave or be seen in a certain way. You know, I'm meant to be this sophisticated adult. And, you know, I think it takes the playfulness out of you. And ultimately we are all children, but we just look a little bit older, right? And I think sometimes we forget that. And, you know, the whole Peter Pan effect, to see you having that much fun, I just hope that inspires more people out there to just drop that guard
Yeah.
And just, you know what? Some will accept it. Others will completely embrace it and love it.
Yeah.
And your social circle might change, but that sounds like it's a bloody good thing.
Yeah, Josh, it's fantastic. I worry for my children there's 4 of them aged 21 to 26, and their mates are going up to them and going like, is your dad actually okay?
No, but he is now. He's doing bloody well now. Now, as we come to the end,
yes,
this is the big moment. Can we please put on that
the
sexy blindfold? Thank you.
Here we go.
I want you to taste it. I want you to tell me what it is, what year it is, and what you think it is.
Okay.
So without
I'm just going to hold my hand.
If we listen to what he said earlier on about what was it at the base of the bottle?
How far
the
you
bottom
can
of
stick
the
your
bottom.
finger up its bum.
Its bum, right? So he can't see, but I'm showing you now what its bottom looks like.
Have you put a whole fist in there?
And this is kind of, we have another screw top.
Okay, so
I'm going to share this moment with you, actually.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm going to pour myself some.
I think you're probably pouring yourself a glass of Josh.
Right. Okay, smell. I don't mind the smell.
So I can't smell a lot. I also can see nothing. So I can't smell a lot.
I don't mind the smell.
There's no feet or farts.
Right, here we go. I'm going to...
So I'm smelling, thinking, I don't even know whether this is a white or red wine. I'm going to put it in my mouth, and I'm going to try just see if there's any tannin. I'm assuming it's a wine. Oh, fuck. Right.
What is it, Tom?
It is sweet, and it's got a bit of tannin. And I'm just going to try and get the alcohol on it, okay, first, because that will tell me where I am in the kind of...
Can you guess the brand?
Oh, it's filthy. It's red, and it's sweet, and it is table wine alcohol content, so it's like within the sort of 15% and under. And
It's 13% volume.
okay, and
I'm gonna
have one more go on it, and then I'm gonna tell you what it is.
I'm gonna have to clip that out. I'm sorry. As in, like, I'm gonna have to use that of Tom sat there in a leopard print thing saying that's filthy.
That's Jamshed.
Yes,
It's so good.
amazing.
Yes.
Wow. I'm sorry I had to do that to you, but just watching your videos and just seeing you speak about this, I just wanted to try it for myself, but I just had to see if you could get it right, and you bloody did.
So, in that silly little video that Fred's done I'm not going to say silly video, in that brilliant video that Fred's done of the marathon, about halfway through it, I identify Jamshed and call it piss. I think before the end of the marathon, or certainly before the end of the day, Jamshed have gone onto my sponsorship page, 500 quid, no hard feelings, Tom.
That's so
and
sweet.
I just think they are
That's
class.
so sweet. I mean,
No
there is
puns.
zero. So when you had the blindfold on, I'm touching it. That's flatter than the non-alcoholic, and probably Buckfast for that matter.
Yeah.
But it's punchy. I'll be honest.
So it is, if you go and look at what they do on they just take the piss.
I love that though. Do you know what? That's great marketing from them though, that they can just
it's
own
fantastic.
up to it, because
It's fantastic.
it says it's from Argentina, but
Does it say it's Argentina?
it does. But it's a little bit like what was the beer that was promoted from Australia, and it's got nothing. I think it's brewed in England.
Well, it's Foster's.
Foster's.
They don't drink Foster's, they drink VB.
They've never heard of it.
No.
Yeah. So
It's made for us.
yeah.
So I get all these really, quite upset comments going, why are you slagging off? I think some Jamshed is made they're an Australian business. Why are you slagging off our wines? And I said, no, I'm slagging off the wines that you're clever enough to flog us because we're so stupid we buy all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've bought it for this.
Yeah, exactly. It's brilliant.
Your marketing has
It's
worked.
so good.
Not intentionally. Do you know what? How's it been for you coming on a podcast like this? I'm actually intrigued because so many people, I think, will have so many questions. But I've absolutely loved having you come on. I think this is possibly going to be the most unique episode I will probably ever do on this. But not only have I learnt a lot, I've laughed and I've actually loved some of these wines.
Josh, I have loved it too. And I think if anyone listens to this, I'll be chuffed a bit. But it's you've made me laugh.
Honestly, I just want to say, just from the bottom of my heart, I adore you. I love what you do. I can't wait to see what you're going to continue doing in this running space. I think it's so exciting. And I will be there to support you with whatever event that will be, with a bottle of probably none of these. But maybe
a bottle
the
of Josh. Absolutely.
And to your son, I just want to say, the man behind the lens, just thank you for creating and coming up with these amazing ideas with your father, because we're all better off in this world for it.
Josh, thank you so much. And to all your listeners, thanks so much.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, you fatted biscuit, all I ask of you in return is that you push that subscribe button and leave a review. Unless it's a bad one, you can keep that, you sausage. Your support, though, makes such a difference to this podcast and enables it to grow and connect with even more people around the world.